hungry. But we were hungry for two different things. They were hungry for food. I was hungry for what?
Read.
Education. I was so hungry that I would go there and I'd see them white boys. They say, "Hey, Freddie." And I say, "Hey, how y'all doing?" And they say, "What's going on, Freddie?" And then I would con them. I said, "I bet you can't read. I bet you can't read." And then we can read. "I bet you don't know how to spell hat." And they would say, "Oh, Freddie, we know how to spell hat. H-A-T. That ain't how you spell hat," I would tell them. And they said, "It is." I said, "Well, if that's how you spell it again. H-A-T. Oh, that ain't how you spell it." If you spell it again, I'll give you some bread. H-A-T. Well, there was a reason that I had them to spell it 3 times. The first time, because it just went to my frontal lobe. The second time, because it kind of went to my frontal lobe and it started leaking back to my membrane. The third time, it went straight to the membrane. So that means I did what?
How to spell hat.
I remembered how to spell hat. And each time they would give me a word, I'd pay them off with some bread. Well, every time they sent me to the store, that's right, Master Art would give me a penny. What do you think I did with them pennies after I got enough of them?
Brought you some bread.
No. What you think I did with them pennies? No. What you think?
Brought you books.
Bam! I bought me a book. Ladies and gentlemen, I got to let you know I was at another session, and the kid, I said, "What you think I bought?" He said, "You bought some Jordans." I was like, "I'm done." I'm done. Teach your children, teach your children. That's right. And then when I told him, I said, "No, I bought books." Then he sank down in his chair, and maybe about 10 minutes later, he snuck out. I said, "Teach your children." All right? So anyway, I took those pennies after I saved them up, and I bought me, believe it or not, a book. And the name of that book was the Columbian Order. Inside that book, that Columbian Order, it contained speeches from famous people back then. Anybody want to take a guess who one of the famous people were? No. And as a matter of fact, when I got older in my 70s, I used to visit his mansion in Mount Vernon. I'm going to sneak out. No. As a matter of fact, since you mentioned Michael Jackson, June 25th of this year will be 10 years that Michael has been gone. But no, not Michael. Anybody else? Want to take a guess? What famous people, give me one famous person that was in that book back then. Anybody? Okay, well, since nobody knows, that's why I'm here. George Washington was one. Thomas Jefferson was another. Edgar Allan Poe was the third one that comes to mind. And the gentleman, I forget his name, that wrote the Star Spangled Banner. Help me out.
Francis Scott Key.
Francis Scott Key. Here's another question for you. Edgar Allan Poe and Francis Scott Key were born in the same place. Anyone know where that place was? And what's so wonderful about that place that they were born, my little love? Guess what? I was born there too. Anybody want to take a guess? I'll give you a hint. Oh, look at that. Look, everybody. Look who got his hand up. Who is it? What city? Whoa.
Tennessee?
What did he say?
Tennessee.
No. If he would have said it, ladies and gentlemen, I would have went back into myself and I would have did cartwheels around this room just for you. Well, to be honest with you, Baltimore. All three of us were born in Baltimore. So anyway, I got that book and I started learning that book and I learned them speeches verbatim. I got so good at it that I could just automatically come off the top of my tongue with those speeches. And it must have been about 25 of those speeches in that book. And as I grew taller, older, now I'm maybe about 15, 16 years old. I'm tall, I'm bronze, I got muscles, and I know the vocabulary. So Master R told Miss Sophia, she said, "Miss Sophia, we have to get rid of that Frederick. We got to teach him a lesson. Because he don't speak like a what? Slave anymore. He done mastered that vocabulary. So we're going to have to teach him a lesson. So you know what they did? They loaned me out for a whole 365 days to Master Corvée. They called Master Corvée the snake. They called Master Corvée the slave breaker. The day I walked on that plantation, I'll have you know, I walked on it like this, because you ain't supposed to look at a white man in the face. I walked on it like this. 6 months later, he had broke my morale, my motivation, my self-esteem, and anything else to build a person up. It left me broken, walking, such as. And my back is all whipped up. That's how much he had been whipping me. Well, one particular day, we was out fanning the mill. I was the man in the middle. Slave, slave. And I'm picking up the hay. Now, I got to let you know, Master Corvée was known as a snake because he would tell us that he's going out of town. He would get on his horse and we would watch him leave. But what he would do, he would go to the edge of town, get off his horse and tie it up, and then sneak back when we least suspect that he would. So when I'm down and I'm in pain, the slave here, he said, Frederick, you better get up. You know Master Corvée is a snake. So I attempted to get up and move. I picked the hay up and I moved a little bit, and all of a sudden I went down. And I went down and I said, I can't get up. I can't get up. I was having pain here. It crippled me. All of a sudden, as I look, I see 2 feet there. It's Master Corvée. And he questioned me. And he said, Frederick, what's wrong? I said, Master, my side. I fell into the bait. Master, my side. What's wrong with your side, Frederick? I'm hurting, Master. I don't know what happened. And he said, well, move your hand so I can see it. And I moved my hand, and when I moved my hand, he kicked me in my side. And not only did he kick me in my side, he had a switch. And he started whipping me on the top of my head with the switch. Blood started flowing down my clothes. And somehow I managed. I don't know how I did it, but I managed. And I ran 7 miles back to Master Ard's home. And I ran through the door. And I was crying. I said, Master, Master, you got to move me. They're trying to kill me over there. Please move me. Please move me. Master stood up and he said, Frederick, you need to go back. You're on loan to them for 1 year. You need to go back. And I'll tell you this, Miss Sophia, once again, she came to my rescue. She said, Hugh, let Frederick stay. So I'm thinking, she said, let me stay the rest of the duration. Sir, she takes a breath. After that, she says, for the night. So she took me upstairs, she bathed me, got the blood and whatnot off of me, and sir, they gave me a bed to sleep in. I was comfortable. So the next morning, I come down, I'm preparing to come downstairs. It's Saturday morning. I come down the stairwell and I'll let you know. As I'm coming down the stairwell, how many of you all walk down the stairwell and you can hear yourself hitting the steps, right? Well, my stomach was growling so much, I couldn't even hear myself coming down the stairwell. My stomach was growling so much because I was what? Hungry. My stomach was growling so much because I could smell the essence of breakfast going up my nostrils. And when I got downstairs and I looked at that table, I saw eggs, I saw bacon, I saw flapjacks. Anybody know what flapjacks are? Pancakes. And I saw coffee, I saw juice. So quite naturally, sir, as you sit back there smiling, I put my hand on the table, on the chair, because I was going to what? So I thought I was. But before I could get comfortable, Master just stood up and he just pointed. Get back where you belong. So I made my way back, and I'm going to keep the chair here. I made my way back. Well, I want you to look at my right leg. Keep a look at this right leg. Because when I got back and I started climbing over the fence, who did I see coming? Master Corvée. What did Master Corvée have in his hand? A switch. What did he have in his hand? No. A whip. So see this right leg here? I took that right leg back off and I dashed. And I came back maybe a few hours later, watch the right leg, And I put that right leg, and who was coming again? Who was coming?
Master correct?
He got his little hand up. Who was coming?
Who's coming? Say master.
That's right. And what did he have in his hand?
What do you have in his hand? A whip.
That's right. He did it again. He had a whip in his hand. So I took this right leg again, and I took it off that fence, and I ran. But this time, I ran across a free slave. Mr. Rucker. He was living out in the woods with his what? Free wife and family in a cabin. And he invited me in. I went in and he said, Freddie, you can stay here tonight. The next morning was Sunday. We got up. They had breakfast. Who ate breakfast? I ate breakfast. And as I was eating, they said, Freddie, slow down. There's more food here. Because I was trying to eat everything. So all of a sudden, Mr. Rucker said, come on, Freddie, I want to take you out to the woods. To the woods? So we went out to the woods. And all of a sudden, Mr. Rucker, he started digging like a dog. And he went down. And he pulled up a rabbit's foot. And he said, Freddie, I want you to put this in your right pocket. You put this in your right pocket, I guarantee your master will not beat you. So I told him, I said, look, you got me. I'm not superstitious, and so I'm not putting this in my pocket. He said, okay, Freddie, well, you got a choice. If you put this in your pocket and you save yourself from further whippings, or you just go back and get a whipping. So he went to walk off, and I said, Mr. Rucker, he said, yes, can I have that rabbit foot? And I put that thing in my right pocket, and I went back. Well, it's Sunday morning. Here I come. You see my right leg. I'm going over. Who's coming this time?
Nobody.
Who's coming? Somebody's coming.
Master.
Master's coming. But this time, he don't have a whip in his hand. This time, he comes to me and he says, Frederick, welcome home. I climb over the fence, and automatically, he just put his arm around me, and he's walking. He says, Frederick, take the rest of the day off. And tomorrow, if you don't mind, did you hear what I just said? If you don't mind, I would like for you to clean out the barn. And I said, yes, master. So, Monday morning came, I'm in the barn. I'm in the barn cleaning out the stall. Now keep in mind, I'm about 16 years old. I'm in there cleaning out the stall, and all of a sudden I hear the door open. As I look, it's Master. What Master got in his hand? A whip. And he lashes out the whip, and as he lashes it out, it wraps around my ankle. And he's pulling me as I'm pulling back. And all of a sudden I managed to go down and grab the whip, and I tied it around my wrist. And keep in mind, I'm a big boy. As I tied it around my wrist, I started pulling until he was in my face. And then we went at it. We started rocking and rolling. And then he had the nerve, as we broke to catch our breath, he said, Frederick, you must want to die today. I responded, I said, well, master, I guess I'm going to die because you're not going to hit me no more. And we rumbled. Now, as we rumbling, he starts screaming, ah, ah. So a slave, David, comes through the door. And master say, get him, get Frederick off me. So while we're here, I'm saying, don't touch me. And he says, I'm not going to touch you, Frederick. So he waits till my back is turned, and then he kind of grabbed me. I kicked him. He went to the ground and crawled out. The next slave came in. He just opened up the door and he looked. He shut the door and he ran. Now the third one that came was a young lady. She's burly, right? And she's a slave. Master screams out to her, Betty, get in here and get Frederick. Now, I have you know, I was scared of this lady because she was big. I don't care how big I was, she was big. And she was hard too because she was out there chopping trees down. So I know if she got hold of me, she was going to kill me. Well, as she looked, and Master said, get in here and get Frederick. She responded by saying, Master, that's your door. I had nothing to do with that. I'm not here to fight you or Freddie. And let me tell you, when she got out of eyesight, whoo, My heart just fell right there. I said, ooh, thank you, Lord. Because I know if she would have came, she would have took me down. Well, here's the question. When the fight was over, after 2 hours, who got up and who stayed down? Anybody?
Dad.
Huh? Master did what? He stayed down? Okay, well, who got up?
Who got up? Master Freddie got up. Master Freddie got up.
Okay, who got up, young lady? Freddie got up. And I have you know, I stayed on that plantation for 6 more months. And in that 6 months, yes, I was still a slave. I was a slave in fact, but I was free in form. And there was time that Master would come at me and Master say, Freddie, don't have me get at you. In my mind, I'll say, you don't want none of this. You need to keep on walking. So he never touched me again. The last 6 months, he never touched me again. But I'll let you know, me watching him beat those other slaves, it just tore my insides up. It hurted me. There were times that I would go off and I would start crying by myself because of what I saw. And talking about by myself, well, we just got fortunate because we got a day off. Master worked us from the time we got up to the time maybe about 10, 11, 12 at night, and we had to get up the next morning to be out there working. Well, this day I had off. I was down by the Chesapeake Bay, just watching the water as it flowed. And I said to the water, I said, I wish I was free like you, to go where I want, to do what I please. If I want to go north, I can go north as you, water. If I want to go south, I can go south like you, water. If I wanted to switch directions, I could, water. Well, while I was there talking to myself, a couple of slave owners came by. One slave owner said to the other, he said, that's a handsome little boy there. The slave owner came out and he said, you ever think about running away? You ever think about escaping? And I said to myself, they trying to set me up. Because as soon as I run, they'll be right there to capture me. And if they capture me, guess how much money they'll get for me? $1,000. They'll get $1,000 for me because of how strong I am. So you know what I did, ma'am? I stayed right there and I said, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. Well, eventually my 6 months was up and they wind up moving me. They moved me to another plantation. They moved me to a plantation that was owned by another poor slave master. And his name was no other than Master Freeman. Can everybody say Freeman?
Freeman.
Now I want you to say free.
Free.
Free. Because Master